Reporting from Italy, Brian Morrissey.
I have 25 people coming to La Taverna.
How do you wrangle 25 people in? What city are you in?
I'm in Perugia. It's in Umbria. It's like a nice hilltop town.
Oh, the gathering is people that are at this event? Is that what it is?
It's journalists. It's crawling with journalists.
They have money to fly to Italy?
Apparently, yeah, from all over Europe. Every guild should get together, and journalism is a guild.
It's nice being with your people. Yeah, exactly.
It's really nice. Welcome to People vs. Algorithms, show about media, technology, culture, connecting the dots.
Also with the catchiest jingle in the business.
Catchiest jingle in the business. I met a...
Why do you say that? We haven't changed it.
No one changed it. You wrote it, Alex. You made it.
Thank you.
It's better than the all-in one.
I agree.
Yeah. It's not hype.
I met a few PVA superfans here. I'm
They're everywhere.
Anyone who mentions the podcast is a super fan. So, but it's good. It's international. It's an international.
No, it's great that Alex and I can put a lot of energy into this, and you can reap the benefits. It's great.
We all know that's not true. Anyhow.
No, we should have another conversation about getting your friends at Beehive to sponsor this. We should air this publicly.
If you want to air it publicly, that's fine. We'll figure it out. We should monetize this, I think. I don't know if it's TBP.
I mean, I'm all for it.
I'm going to monetize the new media brain. That's what I'm going to monetize.
Okay.
I had a breakthrough.
I got your morning briefings today, Troy. But we should.
Oh, they came out. They're not supposed to go out. Wow, really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what do you call that? When a machine does something without assistance.
It's gone rogue.
It's gone rogue. It wasn't supposed to go out, but Alex, I cannot wait to step you through what I've discovered and how it works.
This is how the world ends. An AI that absorbs Troy's disdain for people.
All right, Troy, give us...
No. Human in the loop, man. Human in the loop. Always.
Chomping at the bit. I think it's champing at the bit. So give us the update on... I think you need to call it PMP, not pinned.
Yeah.
The machine had originally spit out PMIP, and I kept calling it, just kind of referring to it as pimp. And then I had the machine reassign the name because it was catchier.
Okay, so give us the update. Where is it? I didn't do much.
I mean, I think it's a really interesting idea that's kind of emerging out of it, which is kind of how all things happen. And I have been kind of at the intersection of technology and media and the making of media for a long, long time. And so much so that I had the audacity, Brian, at one point when I was at Hearst to name the CMS Media OS, right? So, which was a kind of, you could see its aspirations a long time ago. But the breakthrough here was more about kind of institutional memory and what the next frontier is of how AI kind of supports a media organization. And I think that the conversation of either or is the wrong conversation. And you're seeing it emerge in lots of places, like the young, sort of data journalist at The Economist that's using AI to sort through mountains of data to create better observations. There's lots of stories, I think, of people using AI, to create more compelling journalism. And what happened to me, and if you don't mind me telling a little bit of a long-winded story, was I had just wanted to solve a simple need. And it was, I consume a lot of media. It's not particularly efficient. And I wanted a single interface to bring everything together. My email box had become so cluttered with newsletters that I was missing things all the time, missing important kind of financial things. And I surfed through lots of other sources, from niche like Hacker News to, kind of old media to, daily newspapers and all of that. And I just wanted to bring it together. So I made this interface that allowed me to kind of aggregate all the content I read into a single place. And then I added some of the features that you would expect from AI, where I authenticate at the pimp level, at the aggregation level. because I pay for many of these subscriptions. And then any of the sort of intelligent extraction that allows me to read something really quickly is done with authenticated copy. So I can read a summary of a long-winded New York Times article in 5 seconds. So this was a useful thing. I noticed that I used it more than I did the take machine, right? The take machine was cool. People have been putting in takes in bighottake.com. And that was an interesting experiment, but this was actually useful for me. And then what I wanted to do was I was thinking, how can I create more value? Because there's a huge corpus of information here. How can I create more value for readers of People versus Algorithms? And I know that the newsletter duties usually fall back to me because you guys never do them. And so I wanted to kind of try to make that more efficient. And I thought to myself, what if I could do it every day? How would I actually do this? How would I do a daily briefing? So what I ended up doing is writing a bunch of prompts on top of my extraction machine, the pimp machine, to basically say, of the 400 stories you saw today, what are the big trends? Put 5 trends together and put a blurb for each of them. Well, that was torturous because you got a lot of really bad AI writing, like if then writing, or if X then Y, or just like being kind of pedantic in the wrong kind of AI way. I hated it. And one thing I did, simple observation, is I started separating roles with the AI and the models. So extraction and writing was done with one model, fact checking was done with another model, story selection was done with another model. So breaking it down into these loops where don't publish it, by the way, if it's not factual, and go through it a second time with Gemini instead of Claude and make sure that it makes sense. Well, that was a bit of a breakthrough.
And just to be clear, you're just like vibe coding this into Claude Code.
I was vibe coding it into Claude Code and a couple of other tools, Alex, that are probably a little bit too complex to talk about on the podcast. But yeah,
it's too complex. Okay.
This has been a character arc.
It was a chat window. It was a different chat window. I'm not taking away from your technical acumen.
Okay.
He's telling an unlimited amount of people what to do constantly. He loves this. This is.
I was doing it my whole life with real people. Now I'm doing it with robots.
Exactly. That's great. It's amazing.
It's great. Okay, great. So that's a great little commentary on what I'm saying. So anyway, now, then what I discovered is that I wanted to pin certain stories because they were more important out of all of them, right? So I fixed the prompts. I started realizing that it couldn't write what I wanted on its own. So I created Human in a Loop. So basically I said, give me 20 stories. I want to edit the blurbs and select the ones I want. And by the way, give me a factoid and a YouTube video and give me 5 of each. And I'll go and I'll write the headline blurb and I'll select the right stories for our audience and a daily briefing will come out. And by the way, I also want a markup file that I can send to Substack so that we can administer this all through Substack. And so that kind of worked. And that was really interesting, right? But
you might want to do that through Beehive if we're going to get the sponsorship.
We could do it with Beehive. So the problem is the vital next step. And this is where it got really interesting. Drum roll, please. Claude would keep compacting our conversation and forgetting things that I had asked it to do before. The act of compacting a conversation is about turning memory of our interactions into an artifact so that it can preserve them and keep continuity. Memory is a really important part of, how to make this all work. And a lot of people have been thinking about how to do it, right? And even, what's her name? The model, Mila, developed her own
from the Fifth
memory system, which is really cool if you want to look into it. But anyway, I stumbled onto this thing from the brilliant Andrej Karpathy, which is just basically a system for creating personal memory in the form of a wiki, right? These things connect, by the way. So just bear with me, folks, people out there in podcast land and my co-hosts. So I started populating this new flat file structure, this wiki structure, inspired by Andrej. And I put all of our transcripts in there and all of our emails in there and anything that told the story, the institutional kind of memory that represented the institutional memory of PVA. And I built out a wiki. And the wiki is basically it starts to isolate as artifacts, concepts that are long-standing parts of this podcast. And they represent the brand. They are things like interface eats everything and the emergence of agentic marketplaces and how the open web is dying. And all of these concepts that we come back to all the time that are really the principles in which the media brand is built. And it's not that they're singular, they evolve. Like any media brand is an organic thing, it evolves over time. So it turns out that you can build this memory and that the memory is dynamic. And it is a wiki and it's informed by thousands of pieces of content that we create. It's informed by my pimp extraction process where I pin things. It's informed by our podcasts and our newsletters. And ultimately, what it would be informed by if you were a big media company is your reporting, like the stuff you put in. Like it's basically bring stuff in, create a really, really intelligent extraction layer in the form of prompts and prompt loops, and then create, your media creation process with a human and an editing function on the bottom of that, and then feed the results back into the system. And you basically get an editorial brain. And that editorial brain embodies the principles of your brand and the principles of the editorial function that you've created. And it's never detached from humans, by the way. It's always influenced by what we do. Today, it brings in everything I'm doing here at PVA HQ and everything that we do together. And I think it's an enormously powerful conversation. End of monologue. Powerful concept, not conversation. End of monologue. Questions?
Yeah, because this definitely wasn't a conversation, just for those who were confused.
What is the lesson here? What is the takeaway? Is this part of the, I guess my two questions are, is this part of like a good product
do you want the
studio
takeaway?
that will be spun out? And how much am I getting paid for my contributions to the memory? It seems like you just mixed a little.
Well, you've been in extraction mode for a time. This is basically Troy Young IP, but I'm generous.
I want my data back.
Okay, you can have your data back. So I would say it's this, Brian. It's not going to be who's the fastest. It's going to be who has the best memory, who has the strongest accumulated sort of worldview, and who has the best map of their world that they use to make great media. And this is a system for creating that. Now,
but I think Troy, just because this is fascinating, I was teasing, but what you're doing is actually really interesting, and you're applying that energy that you've always had to come up with new ways of getting shit done, but now you're kind of untethered and you can do it. I hope you're okay, and I hope you're sleeping.
I'm not okay, actually. I'm not sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a sense, but here's the thing that I think is really obvious here for me is that, like, it's also a process question. Like, you saw a lot of people will hit these issues that you had about the work, the writing being bad, or just the output being bad. And I think what you're at least trying to do, and I haven't tried it, but I will see the output, but it's just like navigating what the process is, where to put the human in the loop, how to calculate this, how to pit these different LLMs against each other's. This is all like actually really good, important software design. And I think that, we're hearing that a lot of companies are trying to integrate AI into their workflows, right? Media companies and traditional companies. And they're kind of hitting these walls all the time. Well, the output isn't good enough, and this isn't good enough. But what you're proving is that you, by yourself, in your kind of Zen, fueled like midnight coding sessions, are figuring out ways to put this imperfect technology to use by using multiple models, by creating these code loops and stuff like that. That process thing is a thing that a lot of people
you learn a lot about the weaknesses of the models. And just for the audience, again, anybody who thinks that AI is about to take over the world next week is deluded.
The more you work with it, the more you
see its weaknesses.
Yeah, the more both you can start, like, it starts clicking that both the ways you can make it work for you, and also you start feeling much more comfortable about the fact it's not going to.
Yeah, it's radically imperfect. But the other thing is, Alex, I cannot look. I see so many opportunities that come from this. I cannot look at a business anymore and not think about how I would radically change it with AI. Now, this application of memory to ingestion, to sorting, to in a recursive system is something you can do in media now that you could never do before. And it's not anti-human. It's just a better way to evolve and create a media idea and apply it to all kinds of content. Now, I'm looking, for example, at a steel fabrication company in, Canada. And when I look at it and I look at the economics of it, I think, what if I could use similar processes to improve the scheduling of projects and the pricing of projects, and thereby create better margin? Like, I don't know that there's any business that I wouldn't kind of aggressively go into and say, how can AI completely change our thesis and our financial model? It's just how I would do it, including, whatever it is, a gaming company, the rebooting, a steel fabrication company, a direct mail, or whatever.
Boom.
So it sounds like the two big things are, one is institutional memory. I mean, in every organization, how you do things. It's like, you always hate it when people left, right? Because people keep institutional memory. And I found a lot of times people don't write stuff down, or documentation is incomplete.
You spent millions of dollars trying to build these knowledge systems, right? That nobody updated, that just became a burden. And that remains an issue. Yeah.
But it becomes ambient. It becomes like real memory. But the other one that I thought stood out was this idea of human in the loop, right? And that's the moving target that is obviously worrying to a lot of people, because they want to be in the loop. And so what was your sort of takeaway? When does it? No, they want to be in the loop. I sometimes don't want to be in the loop, but when does it make sense for the human to be in the loop?
We are sensing beings. We have a long history of sensing the world and how people react to things that are said and what's happening in culture and the movies we've seen and our reactions to them and how we feel. That we are that can never be replaced. So when you look at a feed of 20 blurbs that are meant to be useful to an audience, like the ability to say, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't sound right, add this, or the reporting side, just talking to people about what's really going on. I mean, the human has to be kind of in lots of places, depending on what your media mechanic is, to make it good, right? But at this point, there's just so many examples of how what people dismiss as AI slop is not AI slop. It's changing the world. Are the Iranian Lego movies?
You're sounding like Gary Tam. I gotta say.
Well, no, are the Iranian Lego movies, AI slop? Or are they actually changing things? Right? Those are just new tools in the hands of creative people.
Just on that, Iran, being very creative has been a surprise of this war. And I think it's actually important. It speaks a lot to the leveling of the playing field. The fact that Iran can really outcompete the United States using these tools, but using just creativity and their fluency with digital culture, which I think has
AI-driven creative tools have turned the war, communications around the war, into the equivalent of guerrilla warfare.
But the Iranians have also been better than the Democrats at messaging.
I mean, anybody's better than the Democrats, right? I think that it's also, part of it is that it's kind of so shocking, that it becomes tragically funny that this is what's happening. This is what's happening at the international level.
For sure.
I don't know if AI is, I don't know how much of a role AI has to play with this. I think outside of, you're talking about the Lego videos and the things like that, but this whole week's been kind of taken over by, the AI Jesus photo and the Lego stuff. It's just interesting how this kind of slop is not being used as messaging. But to me, it is still slop, man. I mean, I don't know, right? It's just that there's this new creative tool.
Well, what does slop mean, Alex? I mean, I thought those videos were brilliant.
I think they're brilliant in the context because they're already winning a sort of war of what the international and the people in the United States feel about the war, right? So they just amplify that with a silly little video. I don't think that the I still it still is slop. It is used strategically, but I don't understand this whole thing of calling them communications geniuses. Like it's not turning any tide, is it? Like hasn't this
No,
been
but I
done
think, well, I
forever?
mean, turning any tide. Like I think it's just a new form of information warfare, right? And memes are a form of information warfare, and that's worth noting.
I wonder how much is that just like us being so online though. Like I talked to other people about it, they didn't fucking see it. You know, like I think most people like just I think these things like pop online for a specific type of audience, and that's fine. That might be useful, but I don't know how much of that makes it into the. It makes like we keep. I've been thinking about that a lot because
Are they on Threads? Are they,
well,
they're on Threads, right?
yeah, maybe they're definitely on X, but it's this thing of like popular culture. I mean, I work in video games, right? So I know I work in a massive industry that actually makes a much smaller dent in popular culture than a movie that 20,000 people are going to see and wins an Oscar, right? And I feel like a lot of this stuff is a little insular, and it is within the media circles.
True, Alex. I think it's true, but I do see that stuff, and I know we're going to talk about the kind of clip economy. I do see it cascade. So my super online friends were sharing those videos with me in the groups that are super online-y last week.
Yeah.
This week, I'm seeing them in the kind of, in my other kind of chat rooms that I have on WhatsApp that are not about kind of internet culture and stuff and not people. So I do think that they're making the rounds. I do think there's
an evolution of the meme, right? It's an evolution of like
it's a meme.
First,
Totally.
First it was the I can has cheeseburger. Then it became kind of the GIF kind of clip from The Office or whatever format, right? And this is a new meme format, and the crazier you can fucking make it, the more like attention grabbing it is. And the fact that the source is important, right? The fact that this is sent by a state actor is kind of wild.
Yeah, the Pope is not using memes. He's very old school in his small c conservative in his communication techniques. I mean, they're still being tweeted out, but he's using just regular statements and to tweak Trump. And I will take a little bit of a victory lap. I called it a long time ago that this was coming.
You did.
And
it's also a test of how big a scoundrel JD Vance is. I mean, really is. If anybody other than Trump had done any of this, it would have been like, it just would have been the biggest steal you've ever seen. And because the boss man did it, he's got to kind of be like, yeah, he's just joking around. Come on. That's how he likes to communicate.
Humiliating.
I mean, he's had a run of great humiliations, which is incredible. I mean, I think it's been fascinating to watch this.
If that guy's ever elevated out of vice president, I'm gonna kill myself.
It will be interesting in this. That's quite a statement. It will be interesting in this battle to see which communication style wins out. I think the Pope's gonna stick to it. Seems to be working. I can't believe we have an American Pope battling Donald Trump, but here we are.
What did the Italians think of it? What did the Italians think of him?
I think the Italians they're not very pro-Trump. That's why Giorgia Meloni came out against Trump. She was forced into it. She's proven to be a very savvy politician, I think, because Italy is pretty far to the left in general. I mean, I think Europe is just very far to the left compared to where the United States is right now. I can't come to both times I've been in Italy. There have been very big pro-Palestinian protests here. It's much more common. She's doing good domestic politics by going up against.
She should try to get Wi-Fi across the country. Be great.
I know the Wi-Fi here sucks, but Italy has amazing food. It has great culture. It has great design, great fashion. It's a very fashionable place. It has sea places. It has great cities. The history. Forget about it. You turn around in Rome, and you're staring at some massive ancient ruins. Just it's got everything. I think it's the perfect country in Europe and maybe in the world.
And it's got enough of the sort of northern culture that they make good hard goods. They have real industry in Italy, real industry. They build a lot of ships too. I like shipbuilding. Cars, nice stereos. They build a lot of good stuff. I decided I'm going to replace the Altima. I want to get. Tell me what you guys think. I want to get a Fiat. I want to get a
mint fiat.
As a Frenchman, I'm pulled into the direction of bashing Italy a little bit and selling France, but I'd stay away from Italian cars. I don't know. I think they're fine.
I'm not getting it for the electronics. It's just purely for the aesthetics.
They're cute. They're adorable. They're great.
No, it will
great
encapsulate your brand well. I think, quirky.
I think so. Yeah. Quirky. Would you drive it around Miami?
Hell yeah.
I mean, like you would drive it around Miami. So somebody like dropping off their kids at school in their F-150 Raptor can drive over you. That's
Lambo. Let's talk about the Clips economy a little bit. This is getting more focused. It's one of those things where when Ed Elson, who has emerged as an interesting information space character, he's a spinoff from Scott Galloway. He had a post about, and he just did the numbers basically, that a lot of these streamers, the whole approach of streamers it's really about the clips. The clips are not a side dish. They're the main attraction. And, clips are interesting because it's just a quantity game. It's flood the zone with as many clips as possible. And I wonder whether this is a short-term growth hack or whether this says something about the contours of the information space.
So it's worth explaining kind of what the genesis of the clips conversation was, Brian. And I think it originated with like, what the fuck is going on with the TBPN, $200 million, strange exit. And then between them and just other people looking at the impact of big voices and creators on the kind of information space.
Nick Fuentes, like people like that.
Yeah, and it turns out that no one watches, or a small number of people actually watch the quote unquote long form. But like the impact, on Clip World is significant, and that's where all the consumption is. And the bigger takeaway is that, like everything, distribution shapes the world, right? And the platforms created a mechanism for the absolutely frictionless delivery of clips, and people love it, and people consume tons of them. It sits somewhere between, I don't know, the kind of ephemeral or fleeting nature of a tweet and the deliberate action of watching a YouTube video. And it's of course, its genesis is the feed, and you just flip through them and they're really compelling.
But what's interesting to me, and I want to bring you in on this, Alex, like what's interesting to me is that there's not direct monetization really of the clips. Like I guess what I don't understand is what the economic value that's built up. It's like now we all know that some person named Hassan Piker exists, right? But it's not like these clips are an ad vehicle for his, ad network impressions. I'm not completely clear on the economic logic.
Yeah, so getting ready for today's episode, I kind of looked into this because I had the exact same question, right? A lot of the clips are third parties, right? I think you talk about that last week, right? They're just part of the ecosystem. And, some of these clippers make $10,000, $15,000 a month clipping specific things, running clip services for multiple creators, and there's a lot of duplication happening online. So you'll see clips over and over again, same clips edited differently, re-edited differently. Sometimes a clip of Hassan, I don't know if you've seen those, like the top half is a clip of like one of these creators, and the bottom half is just like a high speed version of some like matched 3 game on a mobile phone, somebody playing that. It's just like insane, like attention farming. So for me, it's what seems to be happening is that these folks have very small audiences. They monetize them very, very heavily. They're using the same technique that like mobile games or casinos use, which is you make all your money on whales, right? That spend money donating on the live stream. I mean, if you look at Hassan's stream, somebody's constantly like dropping some money. So he lists their name out. They have these super fans. And the rest, the clip service is not money. It's kind of like the share of voice that they have that gets them on CNN, that gets them kind of talked about everywhere. So their actual influence is much smaller than we think. However, once again, they're hacking the algorithms to make themselves feel much bigger than they are. And I think that's kind of been the story of like the media landscape in the last 10 years. Like we pay attention to people who we would have never paid attention to and actually don't have a ton of influence on the world itself or on culture itself, but it's all kind of smoke and mirrors. And the fact that they're making all that money is because they usually have some sort of side hustle where they're selling like protein powder or some sort of course or something like that. It's just, I mean, I think we're all falling for it.
Okay, so you're saying that this is basically another growth hack and it's kind of ephemeral.
It's not even, it's a growth hack insofar that I think that the biggest part of that growth hack is they use the clips and it allows them to be re-amplified on more traditional media, right? Everybody's written about Clavicular. Not because Clavicular has a large audience on his main channel. He does not. But because his clips are so specifically targeted at being rage baity that they get a lot of attention, and the media, and I don't even want to say traditional media, but because it includes Substack, includes everyone, loves to write about this shit because they say, look at this is where culture is going.
They become a reference point. So
they become a reference point.
The clips make you famous, and what you do with your IP really depends on who you are in terms of how you monetize it, right?
Yeah.
So you might be, like you said, you might be selling vitamins. You might be renting yourself to the Miami Lamborghini dealership.
Right. And these people are so divisive usually that they have a very small hardcore audience. But when we all ask ourselves, oh my God, who watches this? Why are these people so successful? Why are they so popular? Turns out that they're not really. It's a trick that they're playing. And I think the media,
it's great.
And the media apparatus that exists around it laps it up because it's interesting. And so I wish that didn't happen, but I think algorithms that really distort what is actually truly happening in culture if you went and asked people what's happening. Everybody knows about Clavicular, but nobody knows anybody who actually watches Clavicular.
He's got a $9 million house. There's a place to land a helicopter.
A lot of these people started rich,
Did Clavicular? I don't know.
It is unclear also how many of those are being
He's a modern Horatio Alger American dream story, actually.
He OD'd live on the stream, didn't he, or something like that? It didn't. It's not going to end well.
Did he?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Clavicular, I hope you get the help you need. Allbirds, they are out of hope. They're now an AI company. This is a bad sign. They claim that they were pivoting to AI, led to a massive stock jump. Allbirds is basically dead. And this kind of
everybody know what Allbirds was?
Memories. Well, Allbirds was
the woolly shoes.
I mean, did you own them?
No.
You're the most likely on this podcast to have had Allbirds. I don't mean that.
No, I understand that, but I refused.
I saw some shoes in Rome that look like Allbirds. I was like, no.
It's that and the CTO vest, without the sleeves. The CTO vest without the sleeves.
Listen, when your mother-in-law comes from Saskatchewan to New York and makes you go to the Allbirds store, there's nothing that's going to compel you to get a pair ever.
Wow,
Troy, you never had Allbirds, did you?
Never.
Okay.
No.
Do you have Crocs?
I love Crocs. Big on Crocs.
The bad news here is that, to me, is how the market reacted to this. That's the news that shows my God, what is going on? The market keeps showing up as being very, naive about how it responds to things like that, right?
Yeah, but this is the corner of the market that's, that trades in, GameStop. This is just
so they're up.
This is a play.
They're up 370% over the last
serious
5 days.
I mean, it is a little like adding blockchain to the name of your company in the last go round.
Yeah.
I mean,
did anybody learn from that? Because what did that do?
Yeah, but we're still playing the GameStop, gambit.
I think that's a permanent feature.
Not called
now.
GameStop.
Stop.
I'm reminded, being in Europe, how for so many years they used to say, "Oh, no Americans have passports," and it was a sign that Americans were backwards or whatever. And then Americans got passports, and now they're everywhere. And none of the Europeans make that joke anymore. And the same thing with investing in the stock market. It's everyone should be investors and and then all of a sudden, everyone became investors. And guess what? The kind of investing they're doing, it's not in Vanguard, as it turns out. It's not buying index funds. They're betting.
Well, I mean, isn't a formerly fashionable company runs out of growth? Investors stop believing in the old story. People tell them narrative is anything. They gather in the boardroom. They go to, this new technological mania emerges, and the company reinvents itself with the language of this new mania. And the stock flies because, the kind of stock mean people pick it up until, someone gets burned. I mean, it's not a new story anymore, right?
But you think that there'd be some sort of believability index here, right? Which is not like, it's not Asana or, I mean, at some point they were selling shoes.
Well, the weirdest part of it, Alex, is that our Allbirds symbolize like ESG and sustainability. And like, for a minute, tasteful kind of millennial direct-to-consumer vibe. And now it symbolizes AI compute, GPUs, and infrastructure scarcity.
Yeah, they're gonna burn all their excess inventory in a furnace to generate.
And wool, but wool is very good to burn.
Yeah. Nothing fucking matters. Yeah, no, I think there's just like a lot of bad signals in the market where you slap AI on something, your stock bumps, you fire a bunch of people, your stock bumps. All of these are kind of motivating, I think, behaviors that are not going to be very healthy. And it could be kind of like create a snowball effect, like
markets all-time high. Forget about the war. Forget about
insane
skyrocketing oil costs. Forget about Allbirds becoming an AI company.
I feel like dizzy. Like I honestly like look at this shit and like it is so unfathomable, impossible to understand that I feel like disconnected from reality completely. I think something happened in COVID, and
this is a feature of capitalism.
All gone crazy.
I'm still getting through the book, but manias like this, complete feature. Boom,
Alex, last night I was watching a clip of Zach Galifianakis talking about harvesting seaweed to lay around his, garden on the island that he moved to in British Columbia.
Yeah, he has this Netflix documentary. It's great.
Yeah, it's like
what I'm doing here.
Yeah, it's like that was like, I thought about it for a minute. I'm like, I wonder if Jillian would we just go to like an island.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It's a great idea. Can we talk about charts real quick? You had shared a chart. I don't know. Sometimes there's no bridge. You just got to throw up a pontoon bridge. You shared a really good chart earlier this week from the FT, who gives great chart, by the way. FT is great at charts. Economists, great at charts. About U.S. businesses rapidly adopting Anthropic. And it's really striking to see Anthropic just completely catching up to OpenAI. And it's going to pass it as the preferred AI provider in businesses. And it seems like their bet on the enterprise, at least right now, is looking very savvy rather than going down the consumer route, trying to be an everything app like OpenAI. Meanwhile, OpenAI, they're dealing with a lot of stuff. Sam Altman's house is getting attacked. Also a negative sign for this field when houses are getting attacked. What do you take away from that, Troy, when it comes to the bet on businesses that Anthropic made in this incredible run it's been on?
That's a good question. The things I take away are, I think the consumer business, the story there is not yet told. I think that you're fighting against a very entrenched competitor on the consumer side in Google, and the monetization models, be it subscription or advertising on the consumer side, take a long time to ferment. But there's a big business there, whether you're paying, for Build-A-Bear agent as your friend, or your, the next kind of Google-like interface, whether it's Google or not, becomes the kind of stoplight on the that captures intent, which is why Google's so valuable, obviously. So I think there is a great business there, but it turns out that harnessing AI to completely change workflows in companies in ways that replaces staffing costs is also an immediate and very sticky and terrific business. And I think that Anthropic wisely decided that they were going to not fight the consumer battle and pin their future on the coding side. And they've done a really good job with the products and doing what I think all fast growing companies need to do, which is really effectively prioritize. So I think, they've done a really good job. I do, however, and this comes like from the front lines of using the products extensively, I do think they're throttling their product currently. I do think there's performance issues. I do think that OpenAI is incredibly responsive as a product, so it feels fast. And as you know from sort of the Google's, longstanding mantra about speed being the number one feature, I think that OpenAI is doing really well there because they've allocated a huge amount of compute in a very kind of power and compute intensive game. So I think it's a long way from over. I do think that sadly Sam has kind of in some ways been a shitty CEO. What he's, I think, done is maybe undermined the trust in the company. And I think that enterprise customers really like stability and trust and reliability. And I think Anthropic has done a better job there outside of, say,
God, shitty CEO. Guy has built and I'm hardly a Sam Altman apologist. He's built like $1 trillion company.
From someone who took a bullet for David Zaslav. That's crazy.
Holy shit. I'm not ready to
Whoa, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, Zaslav.
Yeah, I do think he's been a shitty CEO. So
I totally agree with you. I think that it's just the company's been very chaotic, and it's been in part because I think there is this kind of like web of stories that Sam kind of puts together to make everything work, to promise to investors. I think he's telling investors one thing and teams other things. People were confused about the direction of the company. I feel like the consumer business, which they kind of banked on, is going to be really difficult long term, because if all else prevails the way, and if things kind of develop the way they expect it to, Google and Apple will own that consumer relationship, right? And if Google and Apple own the consumer relationship, it essentially means Google owns the relationship because Apple's integrating Gemini. There's no way outside of the fact that if you own the button on the phone, you're gonna be the AI. And if you have all the memories and the photo, remember, right? Your photo gallery is a Google or an Apple product, right? That's where you take the screenshots. That's where everything goes. They have all that access. It is.
And your mail is a Google product.
Mail is a Google product.
Yeah, they finally added AI to Google Maps. I'm excited for that.
It's good, right? I mean, this is why like Gemini is also connected with Maps and stuff like that. It's such a hard, and then it costs so much money, right? That it's going to be very hard to build a free product. I think on the bad CEO side, they had a strategy, I think, of like never having advertising because they thought they could make enough of that, but they couldn't. So they now have to kind of retrofit advertising, which is a really hard thing to do. If they started a year or two ago, it would be way easier. Google can keep running it ad free for however long they need to kill ChatGPT. And meanwhile, like Claude, I think that the way they kind of stumbled into this Claude Code thing is that the secret that's been out for a while is that coding is actually a really great thing for LLMs to be able to do. It's like code is a language system. It's testable. You can run through it. So focusing on that. You
can make things.
Yes. Everything else that is much more abstract, that's kind of got like, even like localization, translation, these things, they're terrible at translation.
You know what else is happening too, Alex? And I see this in businesses I'm involved in, is that like all things, and these are typically, things that you get when you're older and you're wiser, the world changes way slower than you think. And guess what? Google is still really vital for billions of people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what? Search is still a place that you can spend huge amounts of money and that generates huge business, like real business results. So,
but also the compute infrastructure that they have around search is unmatched, right? I mean,
and I'm just saying that people still use search a lot, and that business model is going to continue to pour money into the company for a while.
I mean, for a second there, I think Google looked like it was in trouble because the search behavior could have moved to ChatGPT. But I mean, I should have known this. They were sitting on the technology to provide a competitive product, and they've done it. They can provide it for nearly free if they want to. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not bullish on OpenAI. I think we've seen companies like that go the way of Netscape. I don't know how much Sam Altman could have done to resolve this. If he can turn it around, that would be really impressive. The lack of trust and the kind of the drama is definitely keeping corporations away. And look, Anthropic can focus entirely on just coding. The amount of money people are going to spend on this stuff is staggering. Like, talking to folks, they're ready to spend. It was hard to get a sign up for like a $10, $20 subscription to Figma, right? When you were kind of doing your budgets at a tech company. But now lots of people are saying, oh yeah, they're totally getting every designer, every product manager, any engineer, $500, $1,000, $2,000 of monthly compute.
It's the biggest line item in the PVA HQ.
And it's the easiest one for people to sign. If anything, they're saying you're not using enough compute.
Except for dinners.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean,
which is staggering. But
that's because the production costs are off the books at PVA HQ. They're on my books.
Yeah,
but go on. Don't let me interrupt.
But what about this, Brian? You're good at this kind of stuff. Sam Altman's sort of historical analogy. He's not the Oppenheimer. Is he a Rockefeller? What is he? What will he go down as?
He might be the Mark Andreessen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he might be the one who brought forth, Mark Andreessen brought forth Netscape, but he lost. Right.
What was that other brief feature we had that you came up with that I think was brilliant, which is the Mount Rushmore? That's what you were doing.
Oh, the Rushmore. Yeah. No, I'm working on further.
You had a Rushmore of like ad tech. You had a Rushmore of media.
I was doing that here in Perugia. I don't know how to pronounce it, Perugia, about kind of a hierarchy. It's less of Rushmore, but a hierarchy of journalism. Because at the top of the journalism hierarchy is, I think it's investigative reporting. Because journalism is a civic good, and a lot of journalists, truly believe that more than a business. And I think that's the tension that exists within the profession. Because
what's at the bottom? Roundup, service journalism, recaps, shopping content.
No, sales. It's sales. Like, look, the closer you get to the core of the product, the higher you are in the hierarchy, right? And the core of the product is the reporting. It should be, and investigative reporting is at the pinnacle because it's the hardest. These are the rock stars at this kind of like event. And I like that because like you need different rock stars at different kinds of events. And they're like, it's not the people who make the most money or any of that stuff or are the most quote unquote powerful. It's not editors, that's for sure. It's reporters and it's investigative reporters. So
was your friend Ronan Farrell there?
I've not seen him here. This is a very European event. There are a fair number of Americans running around, but I've greatly enjoyed it. I don't know if you saw, did you see that this guy built basically a really great data product off of the entire New York Times history. And it's like a dashboard that you can do a ton of things with. And it's one of those things where you're looking at it and you're like, why didn't the New York Times do this themselves? But I think it does point to a lot of the possibilities that I don't think publishers have even come close to realizing when it comes to using AI to figure out how to wring more value out of their content.
What's it called, Brian, and what are you talking about?
I don't remember.
I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. I know what you were talking about.
Below the Fold. It's called Below the Fold.
That's it.
It's got 2.2 million articles in it. This is like, Troy, you should incredible. Like take notes from this. That you should make the pimp interface more like this. I like this. It's got charts. I love charts.
I mean, we're finding, and so if you want to find it, the easiest way to find it is to write Below the Fold NYT in Google, and it'll send you to a GitHub page.
Which, Troy, you have made the point that GitHub is the new LinkedIn, which I like. I like the sounds of that. I don't totally understand it, but I like the sounds of it.
I mean, LinkedIn is full of hubris and bullshit, and GitHub is where the rubber meets the road.
Brian, Troy is a maker now, so that's the thing you need to understand.
I'm locked out of LinkedIn.
Troy's a maker, so he's part of that new LinkedIn. I thought you loved LinkedIn.
Well, I got locked out, so it's the pivot to
What
LinkedIn is not going well.
Wait, what?
Because it's like I tried to log in with my it's like log in with your email. I'm like, I don't remember what like LinkedIn. Like I don't know. I signed up for LinkedIn like 20 something years ago. I have no idea. And then it created a duplicate account, and then I can't get back into like my existing account because it's crossed. And I've already tried with customer service. I've gone through people on LinkedIn.
I hate to say it, but is there anything more sad than LinkedIn? I mean, if I had the energy, I would just rip my shit off of there. And there was probably a time when I put stuff on there that I regret now. But like, there are people, there's a handful of people. There's a handful of people in my network that are the LinkedIn people. And they comment on everybody's like sort of job update or whatever. And it's so fucking pathetic. And it screams of like, kind of late career uselessness or
oh, come on. That's privilege. That's privilege speaking. There's a lot of hustlers out there who are hustling, and yeah, they're on LinkedIn and
they might be hustling, Brian, but the path back is not to tell Judy that, how great it is that she got a new HR job at Netflix. Like nobody cares. And how she's just, you deserve this, Judy. You're so great. You were always great. Perfect. I mean, and there's the same people that do it all the time.
Okay. Well, when I get back on LinkedIn, I'm gonna endorse you for vibe coding and podcasting.
Yeah, and I'm with Troy on this. It is kind of like a sad place.
It's very classist, both of you. It's very classist, I think.
We're both late stage career people.
I'm fucked, Brian. I'm completely unemployable. I'm fucked.
I don't think so, Troy.
But you don't see him like congratulating everyone everyone has got a promotion. Instead, he's out there making stuff. And if there's something the audience needs to understand, go out there and make things.
I took this as a negative signal. CNN hired like a chief AI officer from like the New York Times.
All that stuff is bullshit. All this stuff is
I got flashbacks to like the chief digital officer era. Let's just like put some
you don't need a
chief in front.
If people have made it this far into this meandering episode, I just wanted to like just restate what Troy talked about at the beginning here, which is like spectacular what Troy's been doing. It's been very exciting to watch him do it and finally kind of like have this way of outputting his ideas and kind of go back and forth with somebody who doesn't get tired and start complaining and needs to go home to his family or like, needs to go to the bathroom. Like this is great for Troy. He's in his happy place. But what he's managing to do, which I think like, and it's not a chief of AI and it's not telling your entire staff to start using AI like that. It's thinking through the processes, through the way things are done, and think, how could we do them better? Not how can you replace X with AI, which is like everybody, like so many people are thinking about this in a very like single layered way. And so what you need to do is not hire a chief of AI, is to reframe like your performance reviews, your hiring practices, to hire people who can think through things like Troy, who can think like, hey, you know what?
100%.
This has been done like this for 100 years. I don't think it can be turned into a prompt, but there's definitely a way of like, yes, keeping the human in the loop, using different models for what they're best at, having a mix of interface and kind of like magic LLM shit happening. It is software
so
design.
Many business opportunities. Let me just
everywhere.
I'll tell you one. So it occurs to me that a massive new economy is being built. Again, it will happen slower than you think, but it's like it's picking away at the way that we built productivity around software in corporations for the last X amount of years, 30 years. And what that means is little things like Jimmy in production at some company's going to vibe code a little bit of software that makes a process more efficient. And it's going to mean that, like photography, which used to be the realm of professionals, there are going to be people like me that are sort of hobbyists or ham radio operators or people that are using the technology like it's a big box of Lego and having fun with it. And people in corporations that go out and say we need to re-articulate or reinvent our CRM system in a way that's really finally works for our unique business, right? And what they're going to need is they're going to need all kinds of stuff. They're going to need tons of tokens, and they're going to need hosting services, and they're going to need cloud providers, and they're going to need an endless number of APIs. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I've noticed here at PVA HQ is suddenly this month I'm spending like $100 on APIs. And it's like a new marketplace, right? I never spent money on APIs before. Now I spend money on APIs. So it strikes. So I said to myself, how do people buy anybody that's selling an API? It's all marginal profit. It's like a data product that's being resold again. It's like media that's sold to the nth customer. It's already made. It's free. The lifetime value is going to, if it exceeds CAC, everything is good. So I'm like, what would it take to create a better API marketplace? Well, it turns out that if you really wanted to do that, you would have to create something that intercepted the agent, because my agent's going out and finding the API for me. So how do you ever create an aggregation service? How do you ever broker that relationship in an agentic world? Well, it's really interesting because it's like any lead gen business, right? You've got a market of supply that wants to pay a lot for customers, right? And then you've got the demand side, and you've got this new thing with agents happening in the middle. Start there. What could you build? Like literally, you have these insane tools that can help you think through this problem. Like I could type this into ChatGPT right now and dimensionalize it in the next 5 minutes and really think if there's a place where I could insert myself. And with like maybe me and then like a technologist and a couple of maybe a salesperson, I could make this newfangled API affiliate business.
And I'm going to use a term that's been absolutely ruined by the all-in people. But if there was ever a time to use first principle thinking about stuff, now's the time. Now's the time. I mean, honestly, like I'm seeing you have all this power, but it's also really incredibly difficult to rethink a lot of the way these things should work and work around the constraints of these systems. So I think that's going to be really interesting. Watching Troy do it has been really interesting because seeing his brain applied to these problems. Look, it's probably a mess. It's probably a giant security vulnerability, Troy.
It's a mess.
Right now, somebody in Pakistan is stealing all your credit cards, but it's also fascinating. I'm very proud of you. And I also have a hard stop, so I'm going to have to go.
All right. See you. I want to talk real quick, Troy, about Semaphore World Economy. They dropped the summit. It's not summit anymore. AB is on the ground at this event. It's all week.
Is he in the waiting
Monday
room?
to Friday.
Is he going to join?
I think he said it was really good. One of the things that he said they do a really nice job with a lot of the touches. It's very professional, obviously. But one of the things in the hotels, they like cut off room service. I guess AB is a room service guy. I don't believe in room service. It's nothing sadder. You want to talk about sad? Nothing sadder than getting room service in like a business hotel. But that forces you to go and mingle and whatnot. But they have a lot of like very small rooms. So they have over 500 CEOs, but you'll have the CEO and there'll be like 30 people. But like that's by design. It's not like in a cavernous room. So they're making a go of it. They're having small rooms, and they've had a lot of like prominent people there. I've been like tracking a little bit of like the coverage from it. It's a lot of Semaphore coverage. I don't know if it's like, a lot of these events, they want to do them as live journalism. The reality is a lot of the value is in the networking, It's like here, like it's a journalism festival. In Europe, they call them a festival.
I mean, I don't know. I think you look at this, it's a home run. And I think that they're building a different media model than a straight up, make content that people value and sell a sub around it. I think they're creating extremely valuable kind of networking and promotional surface area for companies. I give them a huge amount of credit for it. I think it's really impressive, to be honest with you. Look at me being generous.
Yeah, I know. It's nice of you.
Yeah, that's my observation. They've done a great job.
Do you have a good product?
Well, I kind of do.
All right, go ahead.
So there's a couple shows right now that are kind of thematically connected. They're like girl money problems, right? It's like Euphoria, where she's got to be a drug mule to pay back her drug dealer that she's indebted to for thousands of dollars. And then there's this new show. Again, A24 is everywhere, by the way, but this is an A24 show. It's on Apple TV called Margot's Got Money Problems. Oh my God, did it ever take me back? Because when I was, I guess, 26, Jillian and I were living in Montreal, and we had recently moved in together, and we had gotten a dog. And then one day we were going to see REM. And at dinner beforehand, Jillian, with friends, by the way, Jillian happened to tell me at the dinner table that she was pregnant. And it was like a complete kick in the head. And I just had never seen my life taking that turn. You know, it's a really, really emotional experience when you're young, and then figuring out how to, you know, raise a kid as two young parents. I mean, in the case of this show, this is a single parent. We were together, fortunately. But while all your friends are out partying, you know, you're looking after a kid, so your life changes in traumatic ways. And so those feelings all came rushing back in this show, Margot's Got Money Troubles. And I think Elle Fanning is a really good product. She's a terrific actor, does an amazing job in this, of bringing that idea of your life changes overnight and you're a single mom to life. And, you know, there's also like Nick Offerman is great, and Greg Kinnear is great, and Michelle Pfeiffer's kind of great. It's definitely worth checking out, especially if you've had those memories.
I haven't seen the show, but I will put it on my list.
The best show, as we said before, the best show on television this year is definitely DTF St. Louis, by far.
What's that on?
That's on HBO. You've not seen that?
No.
Oh God, it's so good.
I've been traveling.
DTF.
I'm on the road. I went to a restaurant that I think you would like in Rome. It's got a shtick. Do you like shtick, like restaurants with a shtick, like fancy restaurants with a shtick?
If it's too shticky, no. But I'm going to Rome in a couple of weeks, so tell me.
All right, so it's at this place called the Nomos Hotel. We had walked by it some previous time. It describes itself as having raw rooms. And so it basically is this monastic aesthetic with like everything is like stone. And we went to like the restaurant, and you were greeted by like a guy in like a monk outfit. And the table obviously is stone. The chairs are stone. And then like I went to the restroom, and the toilet is stone. They're really into this.
So this is like
theme.
a Italian version of medieval times restaurant.
It's not medieval times. It's a little bit classier, but like, yeah, they did.
Does the toilet flush?
Yeah, no, it works like a modern toilet, but it's just the interface is stone. And so I recommend it.
How was the food?
Food was good. Do
you eat drumsticks with your hands?
No. It's nothing like that. It was like the guy, it was a storyteller. You know, the chef is like going to be a storyteller. They're going to tell a story through food. Like, you know, my mother grew up in Tuscany, and this is a special thing from my childhood. So it's good. I recommend it. Give it a try.
I mean, it sounds like a place I could take the family. My whole family's going with me, so maybe they would like this. Do you recommend it? Like as a family like outing?
I mean, I think it could be a good. I'll send you the Instagram.
So send me the Instagram, and also, what was the highlight? Like, what did you eat?
I don't know. There was like 12 courses or something. It was one of those like, you know, set menus kind of thing. Yeah, there's like 14 ingredients, and then there's like a tiny little thing on your plate kind of thing that you can kind of taste the asparagus in it. But no, it's good. I mean, I don't go to that stuff all the time, but a special occasion.
When do we expect you back in the promised land?
This weekend. Yeah. And then, very exciting is that AB and I are we're co-hosting a dinner together in Miami during Possible. How do you feel about that?
I feel fine. I'd keep the PVA branding off it, please.
I am keeping it off it. Don't worry. It should be okay.
Where is it, and how many people?
It's like 25 people at Nobu.
Oh, yeah. When is that? Maybe I should come. Is it free?
Come. You don't have to pay.
Who's paying for it?
I mean, AB and Marvelous Works. What do you mean? Like we're like, you know, like we're doing business together.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I'm more
it's just,
excited
it's,
about
it's
you
mostly
doing
a
it
casual.
with Feed Me Emily. That'll come too.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I want us to do like a big, I pitched this to Lachlan Cartwright, like a big end of year media party. We could do it under the PVA brand too. And do like, just like a mega media party, like with just like the best people. Like Lachlan could get all the feral people. Emily gets the cool people. And we'll get the uncool people who have money or make decisions or something. The financializers,
All right. That sounds great. I'd love to do that. That's it for this episode of People versus Algorithms, where each week we uncover patterns shaping media, culture, and technology. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Vanya Arsenov. She always makes us a little clearer and more understandable, and we appreciate her very, very much. If you're enjoying these conversations, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It helps us get the word out and keeps our community growing. Remember, you can find People vs. Algorithms on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and now on YouTube. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
All right.
All right. Safe travels.
Thank you. Bye.